is the WrestleBread Podcast, bringing you the latest news, recaps, and analysis of AEW and WWE. Get the unique perspective from a wrestling fan of over 25 years. Here's your host, Jaydee.
What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee here, and this is episode 70 of the WrestleBread Podcast. So we had All Out this past weekend. We had Raw, going over Smackdown last weekend, last Friday as well. This episode's coming out a little late. I'm finally on vacation, and actually I'm changing jobs. I'm actually leaving my former job, and the job that I'll be taking on, barring a background check, I'll be working mainly from home. But the most important thing is that I will not be spending, an hour each day on a commute, nor would I have to leave out 6 o'clock in the morning and come back 7, 8 o'clock at night and feel like that most of my day is gone. And it'll be less responsibilities, less stress. So I'm very excited about what's coming. And plus, right now, I'm on vacation. Where am I going, you ask? Nowhere. I'm just going to be staying home, clean up the house, play video games, all the other fun stuff that you do when you're in quarantine, which I'm finally kind of getting to since I've been working during the whole pandemic. This is actually my first vacation. I had off a few days for my birthday, which was around WrestleMania time. But other than that, I've been pretty much working straight through. So actually having, I think I have 8 days off for this vacation. So to actually have that much time, I know it's going to go quick, but still, to not have to worry, wake up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and lately waking up 6 o'clock in the morning with like a half hour to spare, it's going to be game changer, seriously. And I hope that I'll be able to be more consistent for you guys. This episode was supposed to come out a couple of days ago. But like I said, it's just been a long time. So going into All Out, I was tired on Saturday. And I felt myself feeling tired at like 4 o'clock, but I was like, I'm going to push through. And to be honest, I fell asleep during AEW All Out. I actually fell asleep during the Natural Nightmares and the Dark Order match. So that goes to show where I was. I didn't really catch too much of the buy-in. From what I've seen, we had Joey Janela versus Serpentico, I think the name was. Joey Janela, I actually like Joey Janela. I have to say, he won this match, which I would have predicted had I known this match was going on. And he's teaming up now. He's pretty much in a team with Sonny Kiss. I missed the memo of how that pairing got together. I think it was something that happened on AEW Dark at one point. But I'm fine with it, I'm fine with it. The personalities don't really make sense to me, but I'm fine with it. The other match for the buy-in was Private Party versus Dark Order, which Dark Order won. I'm really hoping that Dark Order would be more, aggressive, just like kind of how Brody Lee's been having during his run since he won the TNT Championship, that he's a little more dominant and more aggressive, I should say. So going into the main card, we had Big Swole versus Britt Baker. This was a tooth and nail match, which they really didn't explain, or maybe I missed that memo too, of what this match was going to be. I thought this was going to be some type of like hardcore match or something, but this actually took place in Britt Baker's dentist office. So this was basically filmed previously to Fall Out. I would have to say it was entertaining, but some of the things that was going on kind of didn't make any sense. Like Rebel was the receptionist and she was trying to hide her voice, which didn't make any sense. Big Swole had Punch. I think it was one of Britt Baker's degrees or something like that, which didn't make any sense. And I don't know, they were trying to make it, I mean, it was entertaining, like I said. I don't feel as though I thought this feud was going to be more serious than it has been. Not saying that Britt Baker has been hilarious in her role, but I thought that this feud between them two would be a little more vicious, I guess I should say. Because, I mean, Big Swole and Britt Baker has been going back and forth against each other for quite a while. But from what I'm hearing, the reason why this match was like this is because Britt Baker isn't 100% back. And it kind of wanted to have this match pretty much done during a big pay-per-view, just to get the feud, continue to have the feud going. It doesn't really make any sense, probably, to Tony Khan and the booking committee to have, pretty much back and forth promos between Britt Baker and Big Swole where we have this big pay-per-view event. I mean, if that's the case, it's very smart on their end to kind of do this, pre-taped, many cuts type of matchup. But I had Big Swole. I had Big Swole winning this match, which she did. The next match after that was the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express. So I was hoping that Jurassic Express will win this match. I like the Young Bucks, but I'm starting to get pretty tired of the Young Bucks kind of winning. Truthfully, this match really didn't make much sense to be on this card because there really wasn't any stipulations or anything to this match. Like, for example, whoever wins this match could possibly go on to get a title shot or something. I feel as though, fan-wise, the fans kind of dragged out. I mean, from what I heard, it was pretty humid down there in Florida. And so towards the end of the night, the fans were pretty much drained. Or they forgot to use crowd noise. One of those. But as we get towards the end of the night, the fans kind of, got drained. Maybe they could have not really shortened this pay-per-view, but first of all, Luchasaurus is awesome. I heard of Luchasaurus back when he was in Lucha Underground. And the funny thing is, I know who he is as a person from when he was on Big Brother. And I never made the connection between the two that he was Luchasaurus. And it's crazy because his name is Austin Mattelson or something like that. He would talk about how he was a wrestler when he was on Big Brother, and I never looked him up. And so when I saw Luchasaurus, and I was like, oh man, this guy is awesome. And then I saw him getting an interview, and I was like, his voice sounds familiar. And then he started talking, and I was like, let me look up to see who this guy is. And that's when I found out he's the same guy from Big Brother, which was pretty cool. So the matchup between the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express lasted for about almost 15 minutes. But the Young Bucks won. And, it is what it is. After that, we had the 21-man Casino Royale. I don't know what it is with AEW, but they cannot do these battle royals for some reason. It's just like, I don't know if it's because the booking is up to the wrestlers and they're just not like understanding how these things go. It feels like it's just one thing after another. It's not, with battle royals, things tend to build up. I think maybe it's because everyone comes in 5 at a time or something like that. Or if it's just, I don't know. It's just like so much going on. There's no concentration on someone. You know how, I'm going to compare with WWE with the battle royals. Normally it's like one person, you get some type of concentration. I don't know. Just with these past battle royals that AEW has been having, it just is just not working out right. So the way this battle royal works is that each wrestler draws a card, and whatever that suit is, it determines when they come out. 5 guys come out at a time, and then the last person is the Joker, which of course, normally the Joker is a surprise contestant, as we been seeing during all these past these past times. So for this Battle Royale, we had the clubs coming out first, which is Trent, Christopher Daniels, Jake Hager, The Blade, and Rey Fenix. They came out, Jake Hager was the one who was showing somewhat of dominance. After that, we had the Diamonds, which is Frankie Kazarian, Will Hobbs, who had a very great showing. There was a bit of, I don't know if he was being very careful, but there was the spot where he got kicked in the face, I think it was, and he slowly went over the ropes, which made no sense. Chuck Taylor, Santana, and Ortiz. And Santana and Ortiz, once they came out, they started to team up, of course, to go after all the other contestants. After that, we had the Hearts, which is Billy, Penta El Zero, Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, and Darby Allin. Of course, Ricky Starks and Brian Cage started teaming up, mainly going after Darby Allin. After that, we had the Spades, which was Shawn Spears, Eddie Kingston, The Butcher, Sonny Kiss, and Lance Archer. Now, in my predictions, I had Eddie Kingston or Lance Archer winning, but I was saying mainly Eddie Kingston because of the type of build that they're having. And, weirdly, whenever someone new comes along, they tend to give them a very strong push. So I kind of figured with Eddie Kingston that he would get this massive push. Now, the thing with this match, looking at the amount of eliminations, the most eliminations was by Lance Archer, which was towards the end, and he had 5. There were people, first of all, Ricky Starks, who had no eliminations. We had Rey Fenix, who had no eliminations. And then Rey Fenix went out early. And there were wrestlers who were getting eliminated, and the camera wasn't even showing who got eliminated. And so you were looking to see what the hell happened to this person. Oh, this person got eliminated. So, I don't know. They need to practice something. I think this is about the 4th Battle Royale that AEW has done on these pay-per-views. They really need to do some type of practice, or they need to switch it up or something. Because it was really a hot mess. There was a spot where Ricky Starks had passed a body bag to Brian Cage, and Brian Cage went to put Darby Allin into the body bag. And I don't know if they weren't paying attention or if they never noticed that there's a camera that's always fixed on them. Darby Allin sits there and fixes himself so that he can fit into the bag, like he was preparing himself for the spot. So he gets put into the body bag. We had thumbtacks in it. Brian Cage throws Darby Allin to the outside. And of course, he gets eliminated. Let's talk about who came out as the Joker. Matt Sydal. So I didn't know his real name at first. I said, he looks familiar. And I looked it up, and it's Evan Bourne. So I'm like, oh snap, it's Evan Bourne. Now I never knew what happened to Evan Bourne after he left WWE. But, of course, we all know that he's a high flyer. Our boy goes to get up on the top turnbuckle. I'm like, yes, we're about to see Airborne. I don't know what he calls it now, but I was like, we're about to see some shit. And, you see him climb up the turnbuckle. You getting a little hype and stuff. I don't know what the fuck he did. I don't know if maybe he stepped in a puddle of water or something like that. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe Brian Cage was sweating so much or something like that, and he just put all his sweat all over that top turnbuckle. But our boy went to go do a flip or something, and he slipped his foot and damn near killed himself. And I was like, well, that's a fucking botch right there. I mean, we're definitely going to see that on Botchamania, but I don't know if Matt Sydal should even come back to AEW after that. I think he should just quietly just go back to Ring of Honor or wherever he's at and just kind of go back to the drawing board. Maybe re-dye his hair, cut his hair or something like that. I don't know, something like that. I'm sorry, I was just watching the ending of AEW Dynamite and I see Cody Rhodes cut a promo and I guess this is the show that comes on after AEW Dynamite. I thought it was AEW promotion again. Okay. Ignore me. I'm going to turn this off now so I don't get distracted again. But yeah, AEW really needs to do something with this casino battle royales. They need to come up with a different concept, because these battle royales aren't working at all. It's too much going on, and the camera isn't keeping up with it. There were people being eliminated that, their eliminations wasn't really being highlighted. There wasn't really a dominant presence. And then the ending, the way this bad boy ended, I love Jake Roberts, but I don't know what Jake Roberts was trying to do. I mean, we already have him talking about busting nuts in the ring last week. This week, he's talking about getting wet or something. Like, I don't know what's going on with our boy. I really don't. But we had Eddie Kingston up on the turnbuckle, and Jim Ross and Excalibur, I think it was talking about how Eddie Kingston is afraid of snakes. I can see if he took out a snake or something, but Jake Roberts just had the stupid bag open, and he's like trying to, put it up to Eddie Kingston, but Eddie Kingston is so high up on the turnbuckle, he's not really paying attention, and he's not selling it at all. And then I guess Jake the Snake realized, he's not reacting, and starts throwing the bag at him and hitting him with the bag. And I'm like, dude, someone's going to come after you. PETA is going to come after you on this one, because you're throwing a snake at someone. That snake is getting some type of concussion from the way that Jake Roberts kept throwing the bag with the quote-unquote snake in it at Eddie Kingston. I mean, Lance Archer should have just straight up said, like, hey, look at the bag. What's in the bag? What's in the bag? That's a Seven reference, if you don't know what that is. And then Eddie Kingston gets eliminated, and Lance Archer wins, in which Eddie Kingston now says, he technically wasn't eliminated. Read the rules. Okay. But still, this wasn't pretty exciting, I have to say. It didn't really have me jumping or popping or anything like that for everything that's going on. Especially with Matt straight up botching like hell. After that, we had Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. This is a last man standing match. If Matt Hardy was to lose, he will leave AEW. This started out in the stadium, then it went backstage. Now let's all talk about this spot. Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy are up on a scissor lift, I think it's called. And they went to do the spot where they were Sammy was going to do a spear off of there onto two tables below. Either they had too much momentum, or they didn't correctly space the tables out far enough for how far they would have to go. And Matt Hardy, they completely missed the first table. They hit the second table, but Matt Hardy's head slaps the pavement. Seeing that live, it was very scary, because Matt Hardy, he was knocked out cold. He wasn't moving. And you see the panic on, oh my gosh, I forgot her name. The referee, the female referee. I think it's Abby. I may not be Abby, but anyway. Her last name was Edwards, I think. But you can see the slight panic on her face, because he's not responding at all. He's not moving or anything like that. She tries to, get Sammy Guevara to kind of, back off a little bit, kind of sell the spot and everything. And then she realizes, Matt Hardy isn't getting up. And you see her throw out the X. And you see her, seriously calling for help. Which is, in my opinion, was the proper thing to do. The wrestler is not responding. You need to get medical attention right away. So you hear them ring the bell, and they end the match. Well, Matt Hardy, being Matt Hardy, he gets up and he decides that he is feeling okay. So you see him continue to try to attack Sammy Guevara, but I think it was the left leg, his left leg and his left arm wasn't moving. And you see him barely able to stand, barely able to walk, and you see the ref we're done. You can't move on. And you see the bell ring. So then there was a doctor that comes out. Sammy Guevara walks off stage towards the ring, towards the arena, you see Matt Hardy is now like in his character looking for Sammy Guevara, and he decided to continue on with the match. So they get to the spot where they are climbing up, I think it was some type of like, not really a scaffold, but they were climbing up something. And you see Matt Hardy is struggling a bit to climb up it. Sammy Guevara had to help him to get up this structure. And the spot was for Sammy Guevara to fall off onto the stage below. My thing is, so a lot of people had a lot of opinions about this. There were, rumors and news that it was Matt Hardy that said he was okay and the doctor went along with it. It was the doctor who said Matt Hardy was okay, that Matt Hardy passed the concussion protocol, that he seemed fine, and he passed another protocol before he went to the hospital. The hospital said he passed concussion protocol and he's fine, and he left the hospital. Now, he was on AEW on Wednesday, where he did say that he has to get back to 100%, which I'm sitting here like, that don't make any sense if AEW was sitting there saying he's fine, he's okay type of situation. But Matt Hardy is saying that he needs to get back 100% and he's going to take out time for his health, basically. That part don't make any sense. Now, the struggle here, I guess, on AEW's part is, first of all, because they had that weird ending where if Matt Hardy loses, he has to leave AEW, they couldn't officially announce Sammy Guevara as a winner. But, us fans, we definitely understand if somebody is injured. You can call the match a draw. You can say the match will be restarted at another time or something like that. And just put it as that, it was a draw. And then have Sammy Guevara then make the storyline that there's some type of conspiracy or whatever, or that Matt Hardy isn't, for him to really pull the heel move and say that Matt Hardy isn't, physically well enough to go against him, and kind of get that scenario kind of going for a little bit. Maybe have Sammy Guevara go after somebody else. And then if Matt Hardy decides he wants to wrestle again, to have Matt Hardy come back and kind of continue the feud between him and Sammy Guevara. I don't really agree with him continuing to wrestle. Now, some people say, well, you can't do the concussion protocol in such a short period of time. You can. They do it in NFL all the time. They take whatever quarterback, wide receiver, running back, they put them into that tent and they have them quickly pass a protocol. And this happens between plays. So it can happen pretty quickly. My concern is the fact that Matt Hardy was knocked out. It's not like he got hit in the head. Tackled or something like that, and he just hit his head on the ground and was slow to get up. Matt Hardy was knocked out. And then you can see, I noticed live when I was watching it, that it was one side of his body that wasn't really strong enough to hold up his body weight. That's when you really, in my opinion, I'm not a medical professional or something, but damn, if I see that one person's whole side isn't strong enough to hold up their body weight, I'm going to say this is something a little more serious than a concussion. I think they could have called the match right then and there. It really wouldn't have been horrible for them. I'm glad that Matt Hardy is able to, his words weren't slurred. He was walking fine and everything. I'm happy for all that. But to see that live and you see that he hit his head on the concrete. You saw it live. They hit his head on the concrete. A lot of people, someone made the point, I forgot who it was that I read, that maybe the difference with Tony Khan and Vince McMahon is that Vince McMahon, he probably would have put a stop to it. He probably would have put a stop to the match. Who knows? Who knows what would have happened, But they made the point of how Tony Khan probably puts more power, give the wrestlers more power than he really should have. I would agree if Matt Hardy was the person who said he was okay and they went along with it. Instead of the doctor basically saying he passes the concussion protocol. I feel as though the company is Cody and Friends and is starting to turn into recovering WWE frustrated wrestlers as well. I mean, I probably am very harsh in saying that, but let's call it how it is. There are a lot of freaking people who are coming into AEW now who are from there's a lot of people coming into AEW now who are coming from WWE who are frustrated with the way WWE is handling them. I understand that. I feel as though that what's going to happen is, and I said this on Twitter during AEW Dynamite, is that's the same thing that happened with WCW. WCW started taking in a lot of people that were formerly WWE wrestlers or WWF at the time, and they started to give them contracts, and it was just like too much to where as though they started to lose money. I don't want AEW to suffer the same fate. I feel as though AEW needs to groom. I mean, they can use these former WWE wrestlers to propel their rising stars. We have MJF. We have the women's division. They should definitely try to get, some females onto the AEW women's division to kind of build up that division. I feel as though AEW would work if they build up their own stars, because what's going to happen is we're going to get all these fresh faces from WWE. Everybody's going to, look who's here, this, that, and the third, and the shots that's being taken at WWE. But after a while, it's going to be like, okay, you can't have the same WWE people up top. You need to build up your own people. It's kind of backwards of what WWE does with these part-timers. Hang on for right now. WWE, they use these part-timers to put over the part-timers and not building their own stars. That's you can basically pull the same thing with AEW. AEW is using a lot of these former WWE superstars. Like I had said, perfect example, and I believe I said this last episode. Look who's the current champions. All WWE people. Jon Moxley, FTR, Brody Lee. Now the women's division, of course, is something completely different. There's about one or two women who came from WWE or NXT basically, who are with AEW. So women's division is separate, I'm going to say, for this point. But look who are all the champions in the men's division. They're all from WWE. They could have easily put these titles on non-WWE, non-elite people. I'm saying MJF, even though he's part of the quote-unquote the elite people. But you definitely could build on MJF. MJF is so good on the mic. He's very good in his persona. Very good in his persona. You could definitely put the title on him and have him go through your baby faces and build them up. And build up an underdog, too. I mean, you can have not really a Daniel Bryan type of build underdog, but you can definitely build some type of underdog. You could have put the titles on Private Party. Hell, the Lucha Bros. You could have put the title on. I see that they're trying to build up Jurassic Express right now. For the TNT title, let's see. You could have put the title on. I mean, hell, you could turn it into like a mini cruiserweight type division or something like that. And build up stars like the Hybrid. You can build up, hell, you can use Joey Janela. You can use, it's like different people that they can use that belt on. Darby Allin, for example, too. But yeah, AEW really just needs to work on building up their stars. And definitely that women's division. Speaking of women's division, I have to say the match of the night. Shida versus Thunder Rose. These two women put on a great match. Their match lasted for almost 17 minutes, but it was really good. I have to say one of the best women's matches that AEW has put on since their start. The offensive moves that both of these women have done was amazing. There was a Death Valley driver onto the apron. There was a Meteora onto the outside. I'm a fan of Thunder Rosa. I remembered her from NWA when I started watching NWA Power. And she was awesome on there, so I'm very excited for her to come over to AEW and kind of like start, putting on good matches with these women. I don't know if it's like a confidence thing with this division, or there's not enough trust, or if it's not enough practice, or their talent has to get better, but there is something drastically missing from this division. And another thing that they were doing, Brandy, who is in charge of the women's division, but she put out this kind of membership called Heels, which on the outside, when I first heard about it, I said, first of all, I get it, you can do Facebook groups with this or something like that. But I think that for a company like this, they should definitely concentrate on building up this women's division and kind of give them a little bit more time on AEW Dark or something like that. Or, put more matches of theirs on AEW Dark to kind of like really build up the division. What they offer now, it's an annual fee of about $50, but what they offer for $50, I would have to say it's worth it on paper. I don't know how it's going to be executed during the pandemic and especially after the pandemic, but it's basically you get virtual meet and greets. You still have to pay for merchandise apparently, but it's virtual meet and greets. You get virtual Q&A sessions. You get invited to certain events, things like that. And they have like get-togethers that she said that they would do. Once the pandemic ends, they would do, get-togethers with the women's division and the members of AEW Heels, which on paper it's very good to have some type of community of women who really love wrestling, and you can definitely you network, you can build friendships from there, and it's a good idea. It's a great concept. Brandy was mentioning how, of course, they're not looking to make any profit of it, and they don't expect to make some type of profit of it, but the bottom line is to pretty much create some type of community with it. Which, okay, I get you're not going to make a profit of it, and you're not looking to make a profit of it, so you say, but this is business, eventually you're going to be looking to benefit in some type of way. But I think that they should definitely work on that women's division. Because it's really a shame that it is a wrestler who is not even from their company who put on one of the best matches in that company's history. And I believe all their great matches involve a female wrestler who is actually not signed with the company. So they really need to get it together. They need to start watching NXT, take some notes. I get that WWE NXT took a lot of talented women, but you can definitely, do what they do. Give the women a chance to practice, cut promos, work on storylines, build up the audience with them, have the audience get to know them. One thing that AEW did that was very well was the Road to whatever. I think it was Road to Double or Nothing at that time. And you got to know the wrestlers' background. You got to have a better connection with the wrestlers. I love that. Maybe, once a week or something like that, they should do something like that with the female wrestlers. They could put it on their YouTube channel or something like that. Kind of a Road to type of situation where you get to know the wrestlers and you get to know their background. And why should I care about them? Like, why should I care about the women's division? Why should I care about this person? Why should I care about that person? So next up, we have the Natural Nightmare, Matt Cardona and Scorpio Sky versus the Dark Order, which was Brody Lee, Colt Cabana, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson. Stu Grayson. Anna Jay was ringside as well. And you also had Ali and Brandy Rhodes ringside as well. This was an 8-man tag team match. This was a match that I fell asleep on. This match, I don't know, it wasn't as exciting as it should be. Don't understand how the Nightmares, Cardona, and Scorpio Sky won. I think that should have been Dark Order. But I guess storylines, it makes sense because you see the story in this match was Brody Lee telling Colt Cabana, what to do. He set up for Colt Cabana to win the match. All Colt Cabana had to do was pin who was it? I think it was Dustin Rhodes. Yeah, it was Dustin Rhodes. All he had to do was pin him, but he decided to do another offensive move. He did a moonsault. Dustin Rhodes moved out of the way, and he was covered 1, 2, 3. Brody Lee gets very upset, pushes Colt Cabana down, and was pissed off at him. This match lasted for 15 minutes, and I don't know, it felt like it went on forever, to be honest. I get the story, Dustin Rhodes wants some type of revenge because of what Brody Lee did to Cody Rhodes. But then Dustin Rhodes gets an interview backstage, and somehow he gets a title shot for the TNT Championship, which I don't know how that came about. I guess because he pinned Colt Cabana, he gets a title shot at Brody Lee. I didn't get that, but I kind of figured they just want to push the story along of the Rhodes versus the Dark Order, whatever. After that, we had FTR versus Kenny Omega and Adam Page. On paper, this should have been the match of the night. The biggest thing was the fans were so deflated. And like I said earlier, from what I heard, it was very humid out, and the fans were pretty much tired at this point. This was actually a good match. Unfortunately, it felt deflated because the crowd just wasn't into it. Now, I loved, first of all, I picked for FTR to win because as much as I feel like I'm being a hypocrite here because I gave AEW so much shit about having, former WWE superstars winning the title, but I kind of picked for WWE I kind of picked FTR to win the titles. I feel like Kenny Omega and Adam Page, they're going to start with their, splitting up because Adam Page was already kicked out of the Elite by the Young Bucks. And I feel like the tag team of Kenny Omega and Adam Page are going to split. I am waiting for Kenny Omega to become Kenny Omega. The Kenny Omega from New Japan is definitely not the same as the Kenny Omega in AEW. And I'm just waiting for him to just go balls out and just kick everyone's ass and put on these awesome ass matches that we know he can do. From what I forgot where I've heard it or read it from, but that basically he's holding back purposely because he wants other people to shine. Company guy, this guy is. I agree with it, but the company is suffering because there are not as many great feuds as it really should be. I mean, look at a year ago, we were all hyped about a lot of AEW pay-per-views. Hell, even a year ago, we were hyped about AEW Dynamite shows. That AEW Dynamite shows were doing so well and everything, and now it's just starting to kick down a couple of notches. I mean, even with this pay-per-view, it kicked down a couple of notches. This match lasted for 29 minutes and 40 seconds, which is like, whoa. After that, we had Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho, the Mimosa Mayhem match. This match lasted for 15 minutes, but I don't know. I like Orange Cassidy. I don't know about him being so high up in the main event. Especially because he's not he doesn't really talk or anything. He's entertaining, but I don't know if I would put him at such a high level as far as with feuds. Chris Jericho, of course, this type of matchup, I would expect from Chris Jericho. And I expect Chris Jericho to be fine after this. But I don't know, with Orange Cassidy, I don't know how serious I can really take him with the persona that he's doing. To be honest. So with this matchup, with this, a pool of allegedly orange juice and champagne, I don't know. It could have been flavored water for all we know. But I felt as though it was definitely a waste. Like I had said before, this feud probably would have been a lot better if it was like a no-holds-barred match or some type of like Falls Count Anywhere or something to kind of put more seriousness to this feud. But I guess they had to keep it somewhat comedy because of who Orange Cassidy is. But if AEW really wants us to believe that Orange Cassidy could possibly win a title someday, or for us to take him a little more seriously than him putting his hands in his pockets and then lightly tapping people's shins, definitely put him in some more serious matches. He's just going to have to evolve if we're going to believe that he's going to be like top-notch main event. I know that AEW is putting him in main event because of his feud with Chris Jericho, but if you want us to take him a little more seriously, you're going to have to put a little more oomph, a little more aggressiveness into these matches. Orange Cassidy was about to be tackled by Chris Jericho into the pool, and Orange Cassidy was able to pull the win. It was still great to hear fans singing Chris Jericho's music. Very happy that fans are back somewhat in the capacity with AEW to hear them sing Chris Jericho's music. Of course, they was awake to sing Chris Jericho's music, but they were barely up for the 30-minute match that preceded before that. So next we get Jon Moxley versus MJF for the AEW World Championship. I'll have to say that this was a pretty good match to end the show. I'm glad that it wasn't the Chris Jericho Orange Cassidy match to close the show. MJF showing that he is a true heel by doing little blows, eye pokes and stuff, and even Jon Moxley was doing things behind the ref's back, which is basically hitting the paradigm shift. A lot of people had some problems. There was a spot where MJF spat in Jon Moxley's face, and a lot of people were a bit upset about that because of COVID, which, to be honest, really don't make any sense because we have two people who are wrestling very closely to each other for well over 20 minutes. I mean, this match here lasted for 23 minutes. And then we also had earlier the Battle Royale that had 21 guys in close proximity to each other. So can't be too mad at the spitting, truthfully, and you can't be too mad at the blood because you had 21 people in the same ring pretty much at the same time earlier that day. And then you had an 8-man tag team match. So I was kind of fine. I was okay with it, seeing as though that we have so much that's going on throughout the day anyway. And then you also have the people who are standing close to each other ringside, some wearing masks, some not wearing masks. So you can't be mad at one thing and ignore all the other stuff, okay? So yeah, MJF at one point spits in Jon Moxley's face. He's trying to entice Jon Moxley to use the paradigm shift. MJF using the crossroads a couple of times, which of course was pretty funny to me. He also was doing little shortcuts to trying to win the match. There was a spot where Wardlow had distracted the referee and he went to throw him his pinky ring. Of course, he missed the throw, and you see Jon Moxley see the ring. He goes for the paradigm shift behind the referee's back, and he gets the pin 1, 2, 3. I was going for MJF to win, but I guess they're going to continue with this feud between the two. Who knows? But overall, All Out really wasn't that exciting. It was very disappointing, seeing as though the pay-per-views that AEW were putting on up to this point was pretty, it led for us to have high expectations for All Out. And All Out really didn't deliver as much as we would have hoped. So going into SmackDown, we have Roman Reigns, who is now taking on the Brock Lesnar role of standing there looking pretty while Paul Heyman cuts his promo. Paul Heyman mentioning that it was actually Roman Reigns who comes to him because he wants to, pretty much win his title back and be a winner and blah, 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 blah. Now, I am very 100% behind this heel Roman Reigns. I'm happy that we are finally get some type of different evolution besides the I'm a good guy. I'm not a good guy. I'm not a bad guy. I'm the guy. I'm the guy, guys. I'm glad that we're past that. My question is, I'm really hoping that this isn't some type of setup or some type of ruse or something like that for him to turn on Paul Heyman because of the whole Brock Lesnar thing. I say that because there was a segment where he was backstage with Paul Heyman. He runs into Jey Uso. Jey Uso says, hey, what's going on with you and Paul Heyman? And you see Roman Reigns go, everything's cool. I got it all in control. Everything's going according to plan. And I'm like, oh, come on. Don't do this to us. After all these years of this guy being, jammed, stuck at number one, defeating every single person, becoming a reincarnation of Cena, wins, LOL, that you're going to sit there and tell me that this whole heel turn is fake? Which, ironically, it was actually Roman Reigns' idea for him to come back and be heel. So kudos to him for getting that idea. Because he definitely would have came back with the I'm just a guy type of situation. Now, props to him for beating leukemia and everything. So I have nothing against the fact that he had to deal with all his health issues. But I'm just tired of him with this stale persona and stale storylines of him, he, like I always said, and I said this on the Wrestling Court podcast for many years, he doesn't look like an underdog. You can't have that type of build and look and how tall you are and everything and sit there and act like you're an underdog. No, you are a badass. You should be dominating people, being aggressive. Exactly what he's doing right now. He has the shirt of wreck everyone and leave. That's who he should have been all these years. Fans would have definitely been 100% behind him if he had that type of attitude instead of, I'm just the underdog, one versus all, and I'm going up against the authority. And no. And I'm just hoping that this isn't just some type of setup for him to turn on Paul Heyman and, some type of revenge or something. Ironically, first of all, Roman Reigns on social media, best thing ever right now. Someone mentioned that, Roman Reigns once again being jammed down people's throats, and Roman Reigns comes back and says, I'm being jammed down your throat because your mouth stays open. Woo! Yes, sir. Come at everyone. Let the Roman Empire fall. And then he even, his cousin, he was involved in a fatal 4-way where the winner goes against Roman Reigns at Clash of Champions, I think it was, or Smackdown. I forgot which one it was. It was Big E until Big E was taken out by Sheamus. Jey Uso gets the shot and Jey Uso wins. And so Roman Reigns was like, oh, good for him. I didn't think he was going to do it or something like along those lines. And I'm like, I like this guy. I really do. I like this guy. But we also had Bayley turning on Sasha Banks. I thought it would have been Sasha turning on Bayley because we got a little bit of those hints. But I'm okay with the bit of a swerve, Sasha. Even though Sasha is a lot better as a heel, I'm slightly okay with her being face. But we'll see how this goes. Let's see how this plays out. Their storyline was definitely an entertaining one. I'm glad that they're not dominating all the belts so that we can have a bit of fresh air in the women's division. But yeah, I was just tired of them holding all the belts. We also get a teaser of either a return or someone coming. It was a woman who was wearing some nice tan heels, and you see her walk and she's dragging her fur coat. And, we don't know who this is. Some people are saying Eva Marie. Some people are saying could be Melina, Chelsea Green, Carmella. I don't know. I don't know who it's going to be. Some people are thinking, some people are just throwing things out there. Some people are saying Lacey Evans. There's really no telling who this person is. All we see is just heels. I'm hoping whoever this is, it'll definitely be worth it. That this isn't going to be, Emelina, for example. Who all remembers that one? I'm just hoping it's something that just makes sense. I also watched a little bit of Impact. We have Tennille Dashwood, or formerly known as Emma, who had appeared on Impact. Eric Young is the Impact champion. We have EC3 stalking Moose, and Wrestle House is over. I think I did talk about this before, actually. I feel like I talked about the whole Wrestle House before. If I didn't, well, that's what happened on Impact this week. A bit of news to go over. WWE released AOP, which I'm slightly shocked about. They had a lot of promise going for them. They were pretty good on NXT, but of course when it comes to the main roster, people get put to the side. But the biggest news coming out is Vince McMahon telling the wrestlers that they cannot have first. So this news comes in tiers. So first, it was Vince McMahon saying that they cannot do any third party, including Cameo and Twitch. Then it came out that they can do it, but they just can't use their real names. Even wrestlers still don't know all that is actually going to happen. But the wrestlers right now, they have 30 days to comply with whatever this new term or agreement is with Twitch and Cameo. And as soon as I heard Cameo, I thought of Big E, because Big E apparently has been doing really good on Cameo. But people are trying to figure out the reason why for this. Some people are blaming Lana. Alana apparently had put out a commercial, I think it was on her Instagram, for Bang energy drink. But people, of course, kind of shot that down. I kind of figure it wasn't because of that, because there were other wrestlers there was another, I think it was Sasha Banks or something that did something with Bang Energy. It wasn't actually like a full out commercial that Lana did, but I really don't think it was that. I think it had to do with AJ Styles, because from what I'm hearing, WWE really do not want wrestlers to be put out there that they had COVID. So AJ Styles recently on his stream on Twitch had put out there that he had COVID about a month or so ago. And people were like, wait a minute, you were wrestling a month ago. I hope they had tested all the wrestlers that you were going up against and things like that. AJ Styles explained that, he had the antibodies or something like that, and he was actually home for 10 days. There was a period during the tapings where he had 10 days to stay at home, and which he did, and he felt better and things like that. Okay. But going on, I don't know. So a lot of people have different opinions about this. I can see if they say, do not use your wrestling name. Don't use, property that belongs to WWE, especially if WWE isn't making any money off of this. I can definitely see that. I can see if, them putting out backstage or insider type of information on their streams or something like that. I think that's the type of guidelines they should have. Because with any job, if you go on social media or something like that and you start talking crap bad about your job, well, eventually it may lead to you losing your job. So I can understand WWE saying, hey, don't use your wrestling name. Don't use your wrestling, icons or symbols or anything like that, because that's our property. We make money off of that. I can definitely see that. But to completely say you can't be on Twitch or Cameo at all, I don't get that. Unless it's in their contracts stating that they cannot make money from third party without WWE approval, maybe. Because with athletes or celebrities or something like that, that contract could exist, that you can't really be affiliated with third parties because you don't know. A wrestler could be promoting some type of product or service or something like that, and come to find out it turns out to be detrimental to WWE or even to the wrestler. Like if a wrestler goes out and it's like, what if one of the wrestlers go out and say something about politics or religion or, something controversial or with the protests or something like that? Well, people are going to tie that back to WWE. So I can understand that type of reason as to why WWE wants to distance themselves when the wrestlers are, streaming or doing cameos or something like or something like that, you know, a wrestler could say, you know, do a cameo and say something controversial. And the next thing you know, WWE's losing, you know, they aren't, you know, they do have stockholders and everything, so that they have to please. So I can see that type of reason as to why they don't want wrestlers to pretty much have free reign. Like, what if Bang Energy comes out that it has, like, crack cocaine on it, for example? Not saying that it does, but let's just say it comes out that it has something to do with that. Well, people are going to immediately tie it to, they're going to remember Lana, and they're going to immediately tie it to WWE. And WWE is going to have to put out statements and do a lot of damage control that they don't have any affiliation with this product, or basically the opinions of this wrestler does not reflect the opinions of WWE. I mean, look what happened with Hulk Hogan and Chris Benoit. When their shit comes out, WWE immediately cut them out. So it's the way WWE operates. You know, if a wrestler says something controversial, the WWE's going to have their hands tied, because people are going to think, well, that's how WWE thinks. So I hope that it's that they just can't use their name, because there are a lot of wrestlers who have very, you know, they're really good on Twitch and Cameo. First of all, if you don't follow Adam Cole on Twitch, you really should. I don't subscribe to him, unfortunately. So my money, I'm not paying him, but I definitely follow him, and I sometimes check out his streams. He's really passionate about video games, but most importantly, he really works with the people who he subscribed to. Like, over the weekend, he did a subscribers only where he invited subscribers to play a Halo multiplayer game with him, which was awesome. And he'll sit there and talk to his subscribers in the chat for like a good 20 minutes, which is cool for him to be so high up in NXT, and, you know, even to be on the main roster and something like that, and still be humble and really interact with fans just like that, is definitely awesome. I mean, look at Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed. Even though Up, Up, Down, Down belongs to WWE, he still has his Twitch where he talks, you know, hangs out with sometimes him, Cesaro, Tyler Breeze, and Adam Cole. You know, if you don't follow them on YouTube with the Up, Up, Down, Down, they're called The Party, and every Wednesday they get together, they play Uno, or they play Monopoly, or they play something else fun, where they get together and play video games. A lot of people who I didn't even know had a Twitch, Lince Dorado, I think that's his name, he has a Twitch. Let's see, who else? Of course, Paige has a Twitch. Renee comes out on Twitter saying, I think this is the perfect time for me to launch a Twitch and a Cameo. There are a lot of people who are on Cameo as well. But, you know, I really hope that it's just the fact that they just can't use their name and their WWE wrestling icons. That's what I really hope it is. A lot of wrestlers seem to not know what's going on. Xavier Woods had talked about it, and he said, you know, he really doesn't know what's going on. Hopefully he'll be fine in 30 days. AJ Styles kind of said the same thing, that he really doesn't know what's going on, and that hopefully that he'll be fine in 30 days as well. But, you know, I guess we'll see what happens come October, if we're going to get a lot of people who's going to be very upset at the fact that they can't stream and can't interact with fans. But I remember Stephanie McMahon had said something along the lines that that WWE wants the wrestlers to really interact with fans that way, through social media and through, you know, things like Twitch and Cameo. So for that to kind of like, especially if it's as strict as we first heard it, that they just can't do it at all, it's going to really suck. And I'm going to I'll feel bad for the wrestlers, because the people, you know, people like Rusev and Zack Ryder, who use social media to kind of put themselves over organically, you know? But, you know, that's what WWE does. Looking into AEW Dynamite, I didn't get a chance to check out NXT just yet, and I was in and out at watching WWE Dynamite. I see that Rusev, who is now known as Miro, is now with AEW, and he said you could take your brass ring and shove it up your ass. Okay, you know, shot at WWE. But he came out as the best man for Kip Sabian, which, I don't know. a lot of people were not happy with the storyline he was immediately put to. Maybe they're using his popularity to kind of put over Kip Sabian and who else he'll be feuding against. Not really putting Miro all, at the top just yet, because there's a lot of people who are up there. Because we got, we have MJF, we got John Moxley, we got Lance Archer, we got who else? There's Brody Lee up there now, Cody Rhodes. There's a lot of people who's going after the AEW championship. Maybe it could have been Miro's idea to kind of start on the mid-card level and kind of like build up that card. Because they definitely would need help with people who aren't really advertised as often. I mean, Kip Sabian isn't really advertised. We got the hybrid, people like that who really needs their time to shine. But, I tweeted this out that I'm starting to understand why people were comparing AEW to WCW, which is good and bad. Good that they're doing things that WWE aren't doing that, a fan would appreciate, but bad because it's starting to fill up with these WWE people. Like, I get it. I really do. You want to ride that wave of popularity, but you definitely need to build up your own people too. Like I keep saying, that's AEW is starting to have that where they're not building up their own people. WWE, what can we say about WWE? WWE needs to get their stuff together too. There is a rumor that WWE may be deciding to move NXT to Tuesdays. I don't think it's a loss, what we kept calling the Wednesday night wars. Because what I kept saying is it's not really a war if they're both losing. Because they weren't both pulling in a lot of viewers. AEW did pull in a nice amount of viewers without competition, and so did NXT. So maybe, instead, I think it's a better solution. That way, fans aren't being split into watching two shows at once in one night like I was doing. I would have AEW on, now I have NXT on at the same time. And I will mute one when I want to hear the other one, if it's like a promo or something like that going on. I think life would be a lot better if NXT did move to Tuesdays like it's been doing. Now, I did miss, I didn't watch what happened this past Tuesday. I did hear that Finn Balor beat Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. Congrats to him. I will be checking it out in more detail this week, especially since I'm off work. I have all the time in the world right now to do whatever. But yeah, I think it will make a lot of sense for NXT to be on Tuesdays. That way fans don't have to, split their ears or heads open trying to watch both shows at the same time. And now we get a nice little week of all wrestling. We got Raw on Mondays, NXT on Tuesdays, AEW Wednesdays. Don't know what's on Thursdays, but you could definitely watch Impact, I guess, on Thursdays, since, you won't really watch it that much on Tuesdays. And then you got Smackdown on Fridays. Whatever AEW pay-per-view comes on will be on Saturday, and whatever WWE does will be put on Sunday. So it kind of like evens it out a little bit. I think it's better for everyone if NXT is on Tuesday. Of course, Chris Jericho is going to call himself the Demo God again and say that WWE lost. But I think it's a better business move for WWE if they move NXT to Tuesdays. And they have no type of competition except for Impact, of course, and AEW Dark. But maybe, it's a very smart move, especially with AEW saying that they're going to be putting on a second show. They were thinking about putting it on Tuesdays. Well, WWE definitely has the head start by putting a show on Tuesdays and getting fans used to their show on a Tuesday. So it kind of pushes AEW to either put on a show on Thursdays, go back to Tuesdays, and we have a Tuesday night war, or they're going to try to put it on against Raw or Smackdown, which I have to say, honestly, that's going to be a loss because there are too many people who are watching Raw and SmackDown. I mean, Raw and SmackDown are pulling almost 2 million, maybe 1 point something million. Definitely not what AEW is doing. So we'll see what happens whenever the second show will come out, and we'll see if WWE sticks to their decision thinking and put NXT on Tuesdays. But that's it for the WrestleBread podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I do apologize that this episode's a little late, but I'm sure you understand why. Shout out to Julian and Rob Bass from the Wrestling Court podcast, Keita and Jay on the Keita and Jay show, Chris from We Talk Next, which is featured on the Keita and Jay show, Nando and Larry from Half K Podcast, Devin Hafiz from Clark Street Wrestling, and my boys over at Powerbomb Jitsu. Be sure to check out all those podcasts wherever you listen to your podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Jaydee Talks. That's JAYDEE Talks. Follow the podcast on Twitter as well at WrestleBread. You also follow the podcast on Facebook as well if you haven't already. And there is a YouTube channel for it. It's basically these podcast episodes in audio form. But eventually down the line, I will start actually putting out videos or something like that. Maybe videos of my predictions or a quick video of my review or a quick review after Raw, Smackdown, Dynamite or NXT or sometime down the line. Coming up next week, hopefully episode 71 will be a little bit earlier than this week's episode, but definitely going over the fallout of SmackDown, the full fallout of NXT, and more of AEW Dynamite, and we're gonna go into Raw as well. Speaking of Raw, I forgot to mention that Cedric Alexander is now part of the Hurt Business, just like I was waiting for. But we'll see how that goes. Thanks, guys, and until next time, peace.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Check us out at WrestleBread.com and subscribe to WrestleBread on YouTube for more breaking news and JD's opinions.